Hello and welcome. You're watching Left, Right and Centre. I'm Sanket Upadhyay. Two debates lined up on the show. Story number one, there is now an open revolt among the Muslim stakeholders on whether to go in for a review of the Ayodhya verdict and in what form. So much so that the man who passionately argued this in favour of the Muslims in the Supreme Court, Mr Rajeev Dhavan, now claims that he has been sacked from his position, despite the fact that he worked tirelessly and selflessly on this case for 40 days and nights. A section still wants him to represent them in the review petition, but Dhawan now says he does not want to be involved in a divided house. Why are Muslim stakeholders and parties so confused about their position on Ayodhya? Even before the verdict was out, we saw how there were different voices coming in from the Sunni Central Waqf Board. How should this confusion be read? Also on the show, changes to the SPG Act have now been cleared by Parliament, but the politics still continues. This when the new SPG Act and the change in the security detail of the Gandhis happened in close succession. Which side are you on in this debate? Do you feel that this is political vendetta, or do you feel that the Congress is mounting its political argument out of a sense of entitlement? Joining me right now is the lawyer who represented the Muslim stakeholders, Mr Rajeev Dhavan. Mr Dhawan, thank you very much for speaking to NDTV. For the benefit of our viewers, could you explain the sequence of events that led to what you now call your sacking?
I don't call it a sacking. It was a sacking.
Okay.
I have been working on the review for 10 days. We have met, Mr Maqbool's team and I, for 10 days, off and on telephone, 3 meetings. I worked all over the weekend to confirm the draft, the structure of which I had in fact indicated earlier. When the draft came to me, I said, no, I would like to rework the draft, which is what I was doing. At 10:15, I went to a dentist for a checkup. I got a phone call through my clerk's phone. Mr Maqbool said I was no longer associated with the review and the case. I said, are you sacking me? He said, I'm sorry, there's nothing else I can do. So he confirmed effectively that he was sacking me. I came back, I wrote a letter and said, you are sacking me as you agreed. As a lawyer, I have no other choice but to accept the sacking. I reminded him of the meetings and also reminded him that the cause is greater than all of us.
Mr Dhawan, you seem to have worked tirelessly for 40 days and I have been given to believe that all of this was done free of cost. Does this sacking come as some sort of a betrayal?
See, this is not a betrayal. The betrayal was not the sacking. My sense of betrayal is that after the sacking, 3 things were said. The first was that there was no sacking at all, which is just simply not true, a tissue of lies. Second, I was unwell. Now, a toothache does not make you unwell. If I was unwell, then why was I working on the case for 10 days? And why is it that I worked all Sunday to prepare the draft? The third was a very strange thing, that I would not have been able to complete the work on the review until it was time to file. Well, actually, the time to file was yet to come. But Mr Maqbool wanted to file on the Monday. I had called a meeting. It would have been filed on Monday with my amendments. But before we could meet with his team, he sacked me. Now this is accusing me of being unprofessional, that I delay. Ask anybody in the team that was with me in Babri Masjid whether I've delayed even by a second. These things are things which I suppose Mr Maqbool had to do, and Mr Madani and the Jamiat, but as long as they tell the truth, I don't mind. They have every right to sack me for whatever reason they want.
Mr. Dhawan, there are people like Lieutenant General Zamiruddin Shah, Muslim intellectuals, who have said that the land should have been given as a gift to the Hindus. This was way before the verdict was even announced. You think that could have been an amicable way of settling this issue?
See, the many attempts were made. The hearing on this case started when the mediation committee informed the court that the mediation had failed. In between, and this is what I suspect happened, at least so I've been told, while the Sunni Waqf Board was in fact asking us to argue, I think some pressure was placed by Chief Minister Ayodhya on the chairman of the Sunni Waqf Board, and he had an FIR against him. Suddenly he twisted round. He then asked for further mediation. The court said, you can mediate either on your own or with the mediation committee. The mediation committee, since it had failed, was functus officio, which means they had no more function to perform. Mr. Sriram Panchu, one of the members of the committee, then wrote to the court, first asking for protection for this chairman of the Sunni Waqf Board, and then claiming there was a mediation when only 5 people were present. The Hindu Mahasabha, the Sunni Waqf Board, the Shia Waqf Board, and 2 others. What kind of mediation was it? The simple problem actually was this, that they said this is ours. You people, Muslims, have done this for a very long time. You are in fact nothing more than invaders, and therefore we want this back. Now consider the consequences of this. Want what back? Did the Hindus not destroy Buddhist temples? We don't want to, in this age and era, get into controversies of the past. Remember, this mosque is from 1528. And so this case went on and on. How fairly it was conducted, I really cannot say. But the inequities of the judgment are absolutely and totally clear.
Now, Mr. Dhawan, you claim to have prepared the draft for the review of the SC decision also. Are we to assume that Rajeev Dhawan or Zafar-e-Aab Jilani, who by the way has offered you to stay on, will not appeal or fight this case anymore in a review?
As far as I'm concerned, one Muslim party for whom I actually appeared has sacked me. The other Muslim party says that they haven't sacked me and they want me to continue. Do you think I can preside over a dispute between Muslim parties so that people may say tomorrow that Mr. Dhawan chose one party over the other when throughout these long years since 1994 I have not done this? So the invitation to side with one or the other is actually my putting my irons in the fire and stoking a dispute which I hope will be resolved.
Mr. Dhawan, you're known to aggressively and very passionately present your arguments in the court. We have seen, in fact, many highlights in the Supreme Court of your defense are now etched in memory of what transpired during the proceedings over the 40 long days. For a person who has been a fighter...
Whether I'm a fighter or whether any other lawyer could have done a better job, I cannot say. I think they might have. It was a difficult case to argue.
No, but it's hard to believe.
Because I thought the bench was very hostile to us throughout the hearing, and because the record of the case was very, very long and complicated. Therefore, I did my best. But I had to keep our clients united. There were many instances where they were disunited, at which point I kept them united. Remember, the Hindus were also disunited. Mr. Dharam Das and others, in fact the main council, they turned on their own shibet because they wanted to kick him out. Now you tell me this disunity occurs, but I kept them together with the help of the others, and I don't think I want to interfere in a way that would divide them further.
Well articulated, you being such a proficient lawyer, but but really doesn't answer my question on why would you give up a fight when you fought this case so aggressively. And you prove my point when you say that that you kept everyone together. Now you claim that you do not want to divide the Muslim side and you kept them united. You said that you don't want to divide this Muslim side by appearing for one section. But don't you think that they were already divided?
Look, in these kinds of cases, everybody is divided. In fact, the Hindu parties, the Shibet on one side, and the so-called people for the idol in the Swayambhu were so divided that the judges virtually asked them to kiss and make up. But they didn't. The Muslim parties, on the other hand, stayed together. Some acrimony behind the scenes always exists. I tried to solve as much as I could, and I think I pretty much succeeded. But right now there's a rift. Who do you think should resolve this rift? Them or me? Can I speak for the community? Can I speak for one party against another party? Which I've never done in this case from 1994. I don't think it's my job. I think that Mr. Jilani, who leads the other side, who really deserves the most handsome prize ever for the persistence with which he has argued this case over the decades. He is much more competent than I am to settle this case, to work out the defects in the judgment and go further. I simply hope that the Muslim parties will get together and any differences will heal.
All right, Rajeev Dhawan, many thanks for speaking your mind, I would say. Thank you so much. Let's quickly kickstart this debate. Sabah Naqvi is a senior journalist with us. Mahmood Paracha, member of the All India Muslim Personal Law Board, with me in the studio. Sanjay Hegde is a senior advocate of the Supreme Court with us. Zafar Sareshwala, former Chancellor of the Maulana Azad National Urdu University, and Dr. Geeta Bhatt, a political analyst. Thank you all for joining us. Mr. Paracha, let me begin with you. You heard what Rajeev Dhawan had to say. Number one, he praises Zafar Jilani. Number two, he says that you were disunited, you were never together, and he kept everyone together. You were a divided house. And he does not want to be a part of the problem. He wanted to be a part of the solution. Do you think that the Muslim stakeholders, and because of this massive infighting, have become a big problem? No. And what effect is this going to have in whatever review plea that you file?
See, the biggest problem is that the Muslim leadership, which what is visible to the world, which is fighting this case, is almost all has been hijacked by the RSS, and that is, and I've been saying this for a long time, and now as things unfold,
no, Muslim stakeholders are speaking on behalf of the RSS.
Yes.
Who, I might ask?
Everyone. You want to start with Mr. Madani. He went and prostrated before the RSS chief just some days ago. And all this is now unfolding. Everything, you are talking about Personal Law Board. Mr. Jilani has he's been just told as the best lawyer which the Muslim community has. I am asking everyone to kindly research and find out if he has argued any other case and if there are reported judgments in his name. So he is our best foot, and he did not even cross-examine the ASI the commissioner, which became the reason for this judgment to come. I am not saying that the judgment is very well written. I can criticize the judgment for end of the days, but they also provided, our side also provided, and of course Mr. Dhawan is a senior advocate. He is not supposed to know all the facts. Mr. Jilani was briefing him, and the case was not contested properly, and obviously not because of his incompetence, but because he is conniving with the other side. So that has been the situation from the very beginning, and even today the biggest problem and the only problem Muslim community today is facing is that their leadership has been hijacked by the RSS. Second thing, if it is of only solace to Mr. Dhawan that he is talking of betrayal, these people have betrayed their own God. They have betrayed Allah Almighty and their Iman. If they are selling their soul like this, now Mr. Dhawan is telling us that he is appearing pro bono. In front of my eyes in Hyderabad's general body meeting of the Personal Law Boards, crores were collected. People are so generous. The community is so passionate about this mosque issue. So crores were collected in Hyderabad in front of my eyes. So where have these crores gone if Mr. Dhawan, who is the lead counsel, did not charge anything? So these are the issues. And you see, Personal Law Board members, the working committee members are appointed by government. I will talk about one Mr. Farooqi. He is a managing committee member, and he is a office bearer of Hajj. Government appointed committee. So all these people are bought over, and that's why open and shut case has been
very serious allegation which you have continued to make in the past also. Dr. Geeta Bhatt as well as Zafar Sareshwala, one by one, how would you respond to these allegations? Dr. Geeta Bhatt, to you first.
Should I come in?
Well, Sanket, Mr. Paracha, in his statement, it is very strange that while various Muslim organizations who were party to this case, when it was being, the Ayodhya case, when it was being fought in the Supreme Court, they themselves, they did not have, the unanimity over how to move forward, and the blame is being put forward on RSS and other organization individuals, while Mr. Paracha himself has been all out, while they are making very tall claims about that in a democracy the kind of a judgment which has come, which of course he has full right to criticize or find errors in it, but at the same time, isn't it that various kind of a training camps, armed training camps were being organized in Lucknow, where the esteemed panelist was also a part of organizing those trained military camps for especially for Muslims within the inside
one moment. Very serious allegations as of this
kind
moment.
of a mindset.
Dr. Bhatt, one moment.
No, it is there. It is reported. He has been there on various TV channels also, where I have also been a part of the debates, where he himself has been in a part of a press conference. So anyway, irrespective of that,
for training
the point
camps?
here is
what is your allegation? One moment, Dr. Geeta Bhatt. Dr. Geeta Bhatt, every statement that everybody makes over here has to be corroborated with facts. You are alleging that
I was part of training camps.
No, you are alleging
I am
that.
not alleging. There have been press conferences.
I see your surname. You are part of that Manuwadi Vyavastha. I know.
No, one more.
Dr. Bhatt.
Well, you have been on many debates
yes,
with
yes,
me.
Of course. Please tell me, when did I organize a training camp for arms training?
Is it?
That's an absolute lie. But because you represent RSS, that is understandable. Of course.
One by one, please. Yeah.
I do not represent RSS. First of all, you please stand corrected on
Manuwad
that.
Maybe
I
then.
may believe in the
Even
ideology,
worse.
but I am not representing RSS.
But show me one place where I have.
Just shows the mindset. You come out, your own, the divide within your own community over a particular judgment. You are trying to, put it forth on other people. It is. Let it be very. If the case was not handled by by the lawyer whom your organization had selected, and in fact all India Muslim Personal Law is coming out, all in the front in support of Mr. Dhawan. There various other leaders have come out and supported, and they are
very quickly, Sabha Naqvi.
Forward this
yes,
case.
I've got your point,
Right?
but I would request all our panelists, whether it is Mr. Paracha or Dr. Geeta Bhatt, that if any personal allegations have to be made, by all means make them, but please corroborate them with facts.
Yeah, please
have
ask
a
her.
factual position in place. No, in your case as well, sir.
My case, I am saying, of course, her surname tells that.
One more.
Her surname, I am corroborating it by her surname. It's Bhatt. She belongs to Brahmin community.
Yeah, one moment. So what?
I am corroborating.
No,
but she is talking like that.
Problems with my
The mentality of a Brahmin,
with
mentality of a Manuwad is clearly visible. And now she should also corroborate that I ever organized a training camp for arms. Now she should.
Okay. No, first of all, that is no corroboration.
There you did
No,
a press
the surname
conference
is.
where you announced
There is a
it.
presumption.
This is what I said. That you
Our
have
country
announced
has
it.
seen
And you
Manuwad
may have
for
lot of
thousands of
problems
years.
with your surname,
And
with
she
my
belongs to
surname.
Brahmin community.
I do
Can we
not have
please
any
move on?
problems with
Yes.
your surname. Mr.
One
Paracha,
moment.
that I
See,
must
if we
tell
get
you.
into surnames and personal name calling and all, we will not do justice to this debate. One moment. Let's please move on. Sabha Naqvi, would you like to come in? After that, Mr. Zafar Sareshwala. One by one.
Yes.
Opening comments, please. Sabha.
Yes, I'll get away from all of this, and I think Mr. Paracha's views, because he's a lawyer, he's taken up many important issues, should be examined. His charges against some of the parties should be examined if he's saying so. He has a certain amount of credibility. I come from a space, and please understand this, my whole life's work began in the aftermath of the demolition of the Babri Mosque. I was a young, I don't like to talk about myself, I was a trainee in a magazine. I left the job. I went all over India for 2 years, finding examples of unity to combat the hatred that was coming up all around me. Our family is from the region of Faizabad, Raebareli, Amethi, from the Awadh region. Ayodhya is not very far from there. So it was something that impacted all our lives. As my adult career began with this, it is something, there is a huge trauma that the Muslim community has overall felt. So allow me to finish my point, because they have not found this judgment to be fair by any standards. However, I am a trained political journalist. Ayodhya was always about politics, and I was in Jharkhand recently, a state which has had lynchings and hate crimes, and I found that the administration and members of the BJP, they were all prepared with police preparation on the day of the verdict, but the Muslims did nothing. I asked many of them, they said, "Bhai, hame is jhanjat mein nahi dana." You must understand that we live in an age where they are coming with dog whistles like NRC, where hating Muslims is the primary political success of the Bharatiya Janata Party. The economy is crashing. That's the only thing that works, is dog whistling at Muslims. I don't think we need to fight this battle, because the fact that Muslims did not do anything much after the verdict meant that politically right now, the Ram temple issue hate thing is not working in Jharkhand till this point. Of course, there is an attempt to try and raise NRC in districts which are nearer to Bengal, but in Bengal also it failed. Now, Sanket, I speak to you with the perspective of a political analyst. This is, I've just returned. So this was an administration guy, one of them who I spoke to, he's in charge of a particular district. He said we were all ready.
Let me quickly get other views also.
People just retreated. In Jharkhand, Muslims are also migrating to areas where there is safety in numbers.
I get your point,
These are the realities of India. This is the abnormal life
Zafar
that the Muslim community
I want
has
to bring you in
now.
at this moment.
So, Muslim community is the main target of the entire politics.
Okay.
Everything else is failed.
Sabah feels
so
Muslim community is the main target, and Mr. Paracha, Zafar Sareshwala, Mr. Paracha feels that the RSS has infiltrated into the functionings of the All India Muslim Personal Law Board, into the functioning of the Muslim stakeholders. He has named people. Where do you stand on this issue?
See, I would request Mr. Paracha that whatever allegations he has made, they are very serious in nature. In fact, even people controlled by RSS, and also about the fundings. He's saying that crores of rupees have. So where is that money gone? I think it is now Mr. Paracha's duty to get into the bottom of it. Now, with regards to this judgment, I think a lot has been said, and particularly about this review petition. My view is that you don't need to make a lot of hue and cry about it. It is your fundamental right. You have a constitutional right. You can go for a review petition. You can even go for the curative petition.
Oh, absolutely.
But I have a different view on all this. Listen to me. I have a very different view, and I concur with what Sabha has said, because I have also moved, not as journalist or anything, but as somebody who is in the community. And in last 5-6 years, I have traveled across the country in almost 42 cities where we have conducted programs called Talim Ki Taqat. Sabha has been in one of our programs. We conduct workshops for entrepreneurship. We run financial literacy workshops. So I think the Muslim community needs to move away from this.
Okay.
There is a segment, if they are trying to use this, Muslims need to give a sixer by not getting entrenched in that. Yes, they will try to get you entrenched with Babri Masjid, with Ram Mandir, with review petition, with NRC, with so many things. Muslims need to focus with one, set of glasses, and they need to move accordingly. And I think all these skirmishes will be thrown out of the boundary. So now the Muslim community needs to concentrate.
No, you're making a larger
They
point,
need to
Zafar, but you know, Sanjay
prioritize
Hegde, I'll
what
come
are
back,
the
Mr.
things
Faraj.
they need to do?
I understand the point that you're trying to make, but Mr. Sanjay Hegde, this is part of procedure. If any stakeholder feels that they need to go in for a review, this is part of the legal procedure in this country. You can. What the outcome will be, you don't know. But what impact is this divided house going to have?
I don't think a divided house or a united house will have any impact on what happens within the review. A review petition is rather narrowly focused. The judges read it in their chambers, then they decide whether they want an oral hearing. There is a stage for counsel to be involved at the drafting or the settling stage of it, and it's only if the court decides that it wants an oral hearing do oral arguments come in, and then there comes the question who will lead those arguments. At this stage, it does seem to me like that old proverb that success has many fathers, failure is an orphan. Everybody seems to be taking it out among each other as to why one side lost or whatever that be. I do agree that people should project a united front, but come on, we are all one family. We are as united with the Muslim side as we are with the Hindu side. We are Hindustanis. It is part of our nature to bicker among ourselves. At the end of the day, let the Supreme Court do its job. You file petitions if you want to. You don't file petitions if you don't want to. This is a process that will go on.
Okay, Vivek Reddy, now for you to answer some of the allegations that have been made. Number one, some people feel that they've been wronged with this verdict. I'm not going to comment on that because it's a Supreme Court verdict and there is a legal procedure of going in for review. There are others like Sabah Naqvi and Zafar Sareshwala who feel that this is now time to move on. Don't fall into a sort of a dangerous, divisive politics. Just move on. That's their message to the community. To that extent, and I'm not going to comment too much on the legality, do you feel that you should hold yourself guilty? That as of this moment, there is a section among the Muslims who feel that they don't want to be a part of your quote-unquote divisive agenda?
Well, I think it is not divisive at all. The Ram Janmabhoomi litigation, Sanket, has been existing even prior to BJP coming into existence. It's a litigation of 1950s and 1960s. At that point of time, I don't think Bharatiya Janata Party even was born.
No, Mr. Reddy,
So
just a slight correction.
Yes.
The matter, the title suit did exist. In fact, this battle has been going on even before 1857. All of that is correct.
Yes.
But it was politicized. And it's a no-brainer. In the 90s and beyond, it was politicized.
Well, I think the true answer for this, Sanket, is not the politicization is not the construction of the temple or the title suit. The true issue is that for Hindus, it was a matter of faith and sentiment. And just as Mecca was there for Muslims, for Ayodhya is there for the Hindus also. And many Muslims today, I have spoken to many of my friends, many Muslims also realize that this is a matter of faith of Hindus. So there is so much of concern amongst the Muslims also. Not that they are, totally indifferent about this. We have to understand that Indian Muslims have that feeling and bonding that Indians must realize this dream of Ram Temple. This is there. Given this, I don't think Sabah Naqvi is right in saying that Indian Muslims, the leaders have asked the Indian Muslims to move on. No, the Indian Muslims themselves feel that all right, with this, in respect to Ram Temple,
quick rebuttal coming here. Two people have raised their hands, Zafar Sareshwala as well as Sabah Naqvi. I'm going to come to you, but first, Mr. Paracha. One moment. Mr. Paracha, the more I hear about this, and I'm saying this again and again, that it is your right to go in for a review, right? This is the law of this country. But to allege that this is an RSS conspiracy, to allege that the RSS has infiltrated into your systems, will that mean that post a review petition, you will continue to harbor this sentiment? Or will you decide that now the law of the land is this? the Supreme Court has decided XYZ.
And that is mine and the community's biggest concern.
What?
That this will become a precedent. The Zaba Naqvi Sahiba and Zafar Sareshwala Sahab are very rightly saying, and my dear friend Mr. Hegde is saying, bickering, small bickerings. But the biggest fear is this, and today's newspapers tell us, no other than one of the tallest leaders of the RSS, Mr. Subramaniam Swamy, is saying that the government should now change the law of the Religious Places Act, and Mathura and Kashi should be taken by Hindus.
No, but these are comments.
These are not comments. Yeah. The Babri Masjid was also a comment. Please remember that. Okay. And RSS is using it as a political tool, and that is our biggest fear. So thousands.
Sabha,
that's our biggest fear.
Would you concur
that's
to this view? Fear. And then I'll go across to Zafar as well as Geeta also. Would you concur to this view?
So yes, I definitely think that there are concerns about the act, as Mr. Pracha has pointed out, but I'll just point out a few things. Ultimately, Ayodhya Ram Temple movement, as begun by Lal Krishna Advani, who picked up a VHP movement, was essentially about politics. It is about the politics where you are a target, and can you be punched 100 times? Will you duck it? I'm not saying people have to be cowards. Nobody is a coward over here. I'm certainly not a coward, but I am a political analyst. Pracha is speaking from the point of being a lawyer. Okay, give me that much credit that I have watched the growth of the BJP. The more you are there in an adversarial role, that's all they have. Please understand this. This is a lot which has failed on the economy. Utter failure. The Vajpayee regime was far better. They have mismanaged. They don't even have much talent.
Okay.
And they're failing. They're getting a terrible reputation across the world. In this case, but you have other elections. NRC, dog whistle. It's created problems in Assam. That is the situation right now. The more you give them oppositional things, the more they strive, they want to do that.
Before I come to you, quick closing comments because I don't have much time. Some of you will stay back.
The real dog is Sabha Naqvi.
Yeah,
she is the one who is misleading people in India.
Okay.
The real dog is Sabha
Zafar,
Naqvi.
Geeta,
she is the one who is misleading people.
Quick comments, please. Quick closing comments, starting with Zafar. One moment, starting with Zafar.
Saket, it would be naive for anybody to believe that whole Ram Mandir movement was building the Ram temple. It was a political movement, and what I am saying, I'll repeat again. They want the others. You know, some Muslims have done very good that they have stopped reacting. And this is my message to the Muslims, not to react at all, because sometimes it will come in the form of triple talaq, sometimes it will come in the form of NHRC, sometimes it will come in the form of Ram Mandir or Mathura. They will keep on. You come out of it, and I'll quote Salim Khan. He said, अगर गब्बर सिंह शोले में ये कहे कि मुझे तो लड़ना ही नहीं है, तो वीरू और देव करेंगे क्या? ये फिल्म ही पूरी नहीं होगी. मुसलमानों को चाहिए हट जाएं और वो अपने काम में लग जाएं. The whole movement will be
Sanket, Ram Mandir was not just about faith, it was also about reinstating our cultural heritage. That was a very important aspect of it. And secondly, this anti-Muslim narrative which is being, sort of being created. NRC is not about, it is about who is an Indian and who is a non-Indian. It is not about it's something which
Sanjay
is against
Hegde,
Muslims.
very quickly, closing comments.
This kind of, this is a very misinterpretation.
Geeta, very limited time, Dr. Bhatt. Sanjay Hegde, quick comments.
Closing comment.
Yes, sir.
Ram roti hai. If you keep going on Ram Mandir, we are not getting a 5 trillion economy. We'll be lucky if we stay where we are. We are taking the country backwards.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Okay, right. Thank you so much for participating in debate number 1.